Hey there, everyone. This is the Dunks Movie Corner podcast. If you are new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. I believe this is episode, I want to say 21. So if you're new, there are technically 20 episodes of anywhere from 10 to 20 or so minutes of me rambling about what I watched in a week, both for movies and TV and things like that. That's more or less a summary of what this is. It's just a quick little recap of thoughts and compliments, complaints, comparisons, things like that on what I watched. This is also, to a certain degree, a companion podcast to the Movie Bros podcast, which is a much longer format that I do with my brother Hayden, where we watch a movie and kind of debate and ramble and kind of discuss it, to break it down a little bit more. It's more juicy, a little more meatier. There's a little more comedy and obviously banter because it's an actual conversation. So if you are looking for more than just a quick 10-minute ramble from yours truly, I'd say check that out. That's on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. It's both this podcast, Dunk's Movie Corner, and the Movie Bros are both on Instagram, where we post about what we're going to be posting on Spotify. We also, interact with the community and, things like that. So if you're curious, you can check us out there. And I figured I'd just kind of get into it. This is going to be kind of a short and sweet episode, folks. This is going to be, if it's more than 10 minutes, I'll be shocked, because it's just one of those weeks where I'm heading out of town soon and I'm packing and errands, and I decided to pick up as many possible work shifts between two different jobs as possible, so it's been a little busy. So with that in mind, these are obviously just my own opinions on these movies or shows. I'd recommend, even if I didn't like them, I'd still recommend seeing them and making your own choices on what your thoughts are on them. And if you do end up watching anything that I talk about, and either you thought the same thing or thought something different and want to tell me about it, obviously reach out. Otherwise, I started the week, and again, these are weekly kind of recaps, and the term week for me is a loose term, aka it might be 5 or 6 days, it might be 9. I think I say this every podcast, but just in case anyone new is listening or anyone forgets, I try to record these and post these on Mondays every week. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's a learning process as we go, obviously. Either way, I started the week with rewatching The Holdovers. If you've never heard of this came out last year. It stars uh, Paul Giamatti. He's like the main lead, and then it's him and a young kid. I think it's his first major movie, called Dominic Sisa. It is shot digitally, but still made to look like film. It's set in I want to say it's it's like 1970, 1971, like a boys' prep school. It kind of gives Dead Poet Society vibes, but with a little bit more salt in the wound, not so clean cut, like wholesome vibes. Like there's definitely wholesome bits, and actually it's very it feels like a very cozy Christmas time watch. It's set at Christmas. Holdover is basically the students and teachers who have to hold over at the school for the Christmas break because their families, either A, they don't have family, or B, the families don't want them, which is part of a subplot for the movie. I don't want to give it away because I really like it. Either way, just ramble aside, the music is beautiful, the cinematography is nice, the story is nice. I believe you can rent it from Amazon. You can find it at the library, I think is what I did. Obviously, you can pick up a copy for probably pretty cheap at this point. Paul Giamatti is great. I think he's kind of a slept-on actor. I mean, I'm sure people are aware he's a good actor, but he's never been like I don't know, he's never been the Brad Pitt, he's never been the Daniel Day-Lewis, which, I don't know, he's an unsung, I don't want to say unsung hero, but unsung actor. Like he's done a lot of good roles. Whenever the award season comes around, he's always like, he's nominated, but he never wins for things. Just a side note. From there, I reviewed these movies and rate them on a app called Letterboxd. This is just like a little bit more social, interacty version of IMDb. I would recommend it. I like using it. It keeps me, for lack of a better word, focused on what I'm watching, and it helps me keep track of everything like that. So on there, it's out of 5 stars, including half stars. I rated this 4.5. So again, I don't know if it's a perfect movie, but it's definitely very much enjoyable. I'd recommend this to pretty much anyone. I don't think there is. It's not super generic to where you can recommend it to everyone, but it's just so good and cozy. I yeah, I can't see anyone going into this and be like, man, that was a like shitty movie. From there, folks, that was 2023. I jumped backwards a little bit to 2015. This one is called Bone Tomahawk. So it's a western. This is got a pretty good cast and like a not a cast. Well, some like depending on how you look at it, somewhat of a cast to it. But you can find this on Netflix. This is Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Richard Jenkins, Matthew Fox, who I hadn't seen in, I mean, for probably since Speed Racer or Lost. I feel like he kind of just dropped off the map. Didn't realize he was in this. I didn't realize the dad from Step Brothers, which is Richard Jenkins, was in this. Just kind of an oddball choice for casting. Either way, the director has not done a ton besides this. I watched this because Hayden and I, the upcoming, I believe it's going to be released. Today is Monday. It'll be we record Wednesday. So next Sunday, we'll be doing or releasing an episode about this movie. So we watch this, we take notes, we talk about it. So that's why I watched this. And I don't want to give too much away because, again, this episode will be coming up before the Movie Bros. And I don't want you to listen to this and then not really find it worth it to listen to that one because that's the better, meatier podcast. But I liked it. It wasn't like the most amazing thing ever, but there was lots of parts of it. Cinematography, the creative, again, I don't want to give it away, but the creative take on the bad guy, or the bad guys. They're not Indians, but they're not normal men. I don't want to give too much away, but they definitely made a choice in that there's basically no music, both either orchestral or like there's almost nothing the entire movie. It's just whatever's happening, that's the sound you're getting, which I get to a certain degree, but obviously I think Hayden and I are going to talk about this a lot more, but I think it may have been a mistake. But we will see what he thinks. We'll discuss that come this Wednesday, and we'll post it on Sunday. So obviously, take a look for that. I like the actually like going back to doing a western. I think is kind of cool. I feel like westerns are not done often anymore or done correctly, and I feel like this is done correctly. The cinematography, even if you look at the poster for this, it feels kind of old school western vibes, and I like that. From there, that was a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd for me. So again, not horrible, not amazing, but it was pretty good for me. From there, Hayden and I also reviewed, which we just posted. We posted it today, although it was supposed to be posted yesterday. Life got busy. Either way, we went and saw it in theater because actually, I don't know, a lot of the movies that Hayden and I watched are not first run new movies. We are watching older classic or things from the past. And we both wanted to see this kind of indie art house movie called A Real Pain. So that episode is out. Obviously, listen to that and hear the full discussion between us. But if you just want a quick little recap before or after watching or listening to that episode, because the editing software, wow, it is totally fine and free that Spotify provides called Riverside that you can record, edit, and post to Spotify from. Again, it's not a bad like setup, but sometimes it's like, oh, I wish I could take this clip and stick it in the middle of another clip instead of being like, I can only put it at the beginning or the end. Like we recorded 2 clips, and the second clip is supposed to go in the middle. It got messy, and sometimes the audio isn't good, or I need to trim out a chunk and it crashes before I can trim out too much, or either way, I digress. Just in case you don't want to listen to that entire big long episode before you get to the point of knowing my thoughts on the movie, Hayden and I think both really liked it. It is very much a dark, dark comedy. Like the trailers, if you watch it, it feels much more lighthearted. The movie itself, it's got a lot of comedic moments to it, but there's actually a lot of like pretty heavy stuff because it's all about like the Jewish hardship. I don't know the right term. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but like the Jewish hardship in the 40s and the 30s at the hands of the Germans. And it's just like the grandchildren of like a first generation Jew coming over from Poland, going back to the home country to like relive her experience. It's all like all the music is Chopin. All the cinematography is actually in Poland, which is cool. The writing is actually really good. The acting of like the straight man from Jesse Eisenberg, yeah, sure, it's needed, but the powerful performance really is Kieran Culkin. You may know him from Succession. He is the brother, and I like that he's making his own name for himself, because I would hate for him to be just the brother of the kid from Home Alone. Of course, now I can't even think of his first name besides Culkin. God, it's gonna bug me. I don't want to look it up because I don't want to sit here on my phone while also trying to record this. But you know who I'm talking about, the kid from Home Alone. It's his brother, and he's actually like, his performance in this is excellent. It is every scene. I mean, granted, every scene basically is him and Jesse Eisenberg, but he is he eats up every scene, and it's excellent. So that is called A Real Pain. I gave it 3.5. Maybe I'd probably call it maybe a 4 out of 5. But obviously, if you listen to the conversation that Hayden and I have, we discuss why it's not a perfect movie. There are reasons why we trimmed off a little bit of our ratings. But that came out this year, so far I've jumped around from 2023 to 2015, back to this year, and then to end the week, again, it was a light week movie-wise, and I'll talk about a little bit of that in a second, but I, quote-unquote, ended the week by rewatching I didn't realize this, but I have now watched, or at least logged this, I don't know how many times I've watched this, but the 2022 The Batman with Robert Pattinson. So Pattinson, the one with Zoe Kravitz, with Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Everyone kind of, I feel like at this point, knows this exists. There's been the follow-up show, The Penguin, that just was on HBO Max that was really well received, and I watched it, and it was very good. Very different than the movie. I watched this with a friend who had never seen it, so I said, okay, let's sit down and watch this epic and have me not hopefully talk through the whole thing. Either way, I mean, I could drool and talk about this movie at any point. It's a 5 out of 5. It's not like my favorite movie, but I do think it is very good. The cinematography, the editing, the writing, the actual narrative of the story, the casting choices I mean, the prosthetics they use on Colin Farrell, the lighting, the car chase. I mean, I could go on and on about this. No, again, I don't even think I put it in my top 4 movies, but it is very good. I don't know if it's my favorite Batman movie. I think maybe it's my favorite Batman movie because I like that he's more of a detective in this. I don't know. I don't know. I like the story though of I know it's divisive, but I like the story of the older man Batman of Ben Affleck. I actually really like his Batman, regardless of what people think. I think over time the Christian Bale Batman part has actually, I don't know, paled for me. Like, Robert Pattinson's been great. I like Ben Affleck. Christian Bale, yes, he was the first modern one to like make it more realistic and less campy. Which also, it's Christopher Nolan. I mean, I don't want to say the man can't do any wrong, but he's pretty much hit a banger with every movie he's ever made. I mean, his recent one, Oppenheimer, was, I want to say, over $1 billion. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actor. Like, the guy killed. He knows what he's doing. However, I like that there are new iterations that are different. Like, the Batman with Pattinson is a lot more grittier and dark. The one with Ben Affleck, I don't know. I like the older man version. Kind of jaded, but still finds redemption after he like meets Superman. This is a whole another separate ramble for another episode, but either way, those are my thoughts quickly on the week. I have already lied to you folks. I am at 15 minutes, 30 seconds. I said if this was going to be more than 10 minutes, I'd be shocked. So I guess I had more to say about roughly 4 movies than I thought. So apologies if this ran long. Again, it's only 15 minutes. I feel like that's still relatively short. And just as I don't know, maybe a side note, I recently looked backwards and realized just how many movies I watched in November. And holy shit, did I watch a lot of movies. Granted, sometimes I feel bad about this because I feel like I'm shirking other duties and other responsibilities. But I try to manage my time as best as I can. I mean, I don't sleep crazy long hours. I'm not out crazy late. I I do all the things I need to do in a day. But I guess I also realize, talking with friends. Like, some friends are watching a crazy, like, hours and hours, like, they spent the entire day watching reality TV, and that's their thing. It's the same thing as movies, or if, you're 18 seasons into Grey's Anatomy or whatever. Great, that's awesome. It's hard. Yeah, I guess I've had a newfound perception, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, of like, I get it. Your thing, it may not be my thing, but like, I watch a lot, like, we've all got something that we probably put a lot of time in that is for comfort or enjoyment, that it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else except for you, because it is just for you. So if you are listening to this, you're like, man, I feel guilty for whatever hobby. I mean, there's some younger coworkers of mine at one of my jobs. They're like, oh man, I've put crazy amounts of hours in this Minecraft server. I'm like, well, I'm trying not to judge. So, like, if it makes you happy, and as long as it's not detrimental to like other people, and as long as you are, I don't know, there's a certain, I don't want to say expectation for doing things with your life, but like, I'm trying to lead at least a semi-balanced, like, dinner plate of like work, friends, dog, movies, hobbies, podcast, the gym, scuba, photography, whatever. I think I talked about this last episode, but I'm trying to be balanced. So when I see things like last month where I watched a crazy amount of movies, it does feel a little unbalanced. However, I know I am doing other things. Maybe this is just some like some pat on the back that I'm trying to do for myself, that I'm gonna do in this podcast, and just roping you along with it. But I also know this month I'm going to be gone out of country, away from movies or screens, which I honestly cannot wait for. I'm a little stressed about some of the like travel part of it, but like, I'm going to be on a boat in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, just either eating, sleeping, diving, or maybe probably reading a couple books that I'm going to bring. So if you feel like at some point I may not post for a couple weeks in a row, that's probably the reason why. I will probably address that again. No, actually, this will be the last episode, because I will be flying out Sunday morning, and I usually post these on Mondays. So this will actually be the last episode before my trip. So really, folks, after this, I believe you'll hear from me again. I think it's going to be almost the end of the month, like Christmas time. It's kind of odd. So, if you don't hear from me again before Christmas, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I know that's basically a month away at this point, but I'm just looking at my schedule, and that's kind of the way it's looking. If you have any Christmas or holiday movies that you think I should be watching, that I've probably seen them. However, I'd love to either hear about that and rewatch them, or discover something new. Send a comment or a DM or a direct message, if you will, if that's anything that has interest to you. I also will be on a plane for quite some time. I'm going to need some movies to watch, and I'm happy to download a shit ton of stuff to either a laptop or a phone prior to leaving. So if you're like, oh, Duncan, this show, this 18 season show, or this movie that's 4 hours, or whatever it may be, tell me, because I will desperately need things that fill roughly 26 hours of flight time each direction. Oh boy, yeah, I kind of forgot that was how long this flight plus layovers are going to be. Either way, I've been rambling. You've been wonderful. Thanks for listening. Obviously, watch these movies and form your own opinion. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for the notification. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets. Tell anyone who might listen to you about what you may or may not have heard in the last 20 minutes. And I'll see you all either next week if the dates line up, or realistically, I'll see you towards the end of the month. Thanks, and I'll take care of yourselves.